fact is, and we're kind of playing this, a little play on this idea, is the fact is that we have a text message from God. We have a huge text message from God that is relevant, that is real, that is applicable for right now in our life. But for some reason, the majority of us don't read it. For some reason, the majority of us don't read our text message from God. So really easy, my goal in this 3-week sermon, and this is the last one, is to convince you to crack it open, blow the dust off it, and read it. Because it is so real, and it is so encouraging, and it is so essential for growth. But if your life gets so cluttered and so compacted, it hurts you. We said last week that if your schedule is so jammed in that you don't even enjoy the things you do, then you probably should take some things out. We said last week that if your relationships are so jam-packed that you can't even enjoy the relationship you have, then probably you should figure some things out. And so we said last week that we all just need a little bit of breathing room. All we have a power over is our piece of the pie. That's all you have power over. That is all you're responsible to God for, is that piece. That's all you're responsible for. This part, your husband or your wife or your boss, they're responsible for that part. We're responsible for our piece of the pie. So let's talk about our piece of the pie. And so this week, as first thing is we're going to listen to our blame game. The second thing is let's talk about our slice. And let's ask ourselves, are we owning my slice of the pie? It's called Sold Out. And we've looked at different people in the Bible who were sold out for Jesus and some people who were not sold out for Jesus. And what has been so interesting, and we kind of define sold out for God, that God is in, if this is a pie graph of your life, if you can all see, if God is in all pieces of your life, that's what we kind of say sold out. That you draw a line in the sand and say, hey, as for me, I'm going to live my life for God. And so you invite Him into your life because we have control over our lives, so we can definitely say, God, you can be in all areas of my life except my relationship piece. That's mine. Or except for my finances. And to be sold out says, hey, God, whatever your word says, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to follow it. It's just going to be something that I say, no matter what, I'm living for the Lord. And so that's what we've been challenging us to do. And we've seen in people's lives two things through these series. Is when they're sold out, when they say, as for me, I'm just going to draw a line in the sand and I'm going to say yes to God. When they're sold out, amazing things happen through that person in the Bible. When someone says, God, take me, use me, I want to be your man or your woman, amazing things happen through them.
Will you be willing this morning to make a decision? Or maybe it's not this morning. Maybe it will be later this week where you're going to be faced with your decision. Are you going to hide and stay where you're comfortable? In your job, in your school, with your friends, with your loved ones? Are you going to stay the same because it's easy? Or are you going to be radically different and be ready to be sold out?
That's how you can be sold out. That is the first step. That is God's plan for the people in your workplace, the people in your family, the people around you, is that you will try to be righteous. And as I said, righteous is trying to do the right thing if you look at this original context of it. Jesus says, if you will just try to follow me, that is enough for me to push off judgment of the people around you. That is enough because if you will try to follow me, and there's one righteous people in that midst of hundreds of non-righteous people, there is hope, and God says that's enough for him. Following Jesus is about focusing on where God is working in my life, not where God needs to work in your life. Okay. 6 weeks of follow. Number one point we talked about is everyone is invited to follow. Everyone is invited. If you are like, man, I have some doubts, I have some questions, I'm a sinner, those are the people Jesus came back for. We learned week 1. That he didn't come back for the people who thought they were perfect, thought they had it all together. He came back for the people who had questions, had concerns, who didn't know everything, who were sinners. Number 2, the result of following. We talked about week 2. What's the end goal? What are we trying to get out of following? The result of following Jesus, whether it's you think, well, it makes me a good person, I have this or that, the big end result found in the Bible is that we will have overwhelming faith when we follow. When you follow Jesus, after days go by, after your faith builds and builds and builds, where you get to the point where you're just, no matter what happens to your life, you're not scared. You might not like all the things that happen, but you know, you understand without a doubt that God has your back. That you have this overwhelming sense of faith that no matter what happens, Jesus is there for you. Number 3 sermon we looked at is, what does a follower of Jesus dress like? We talked about that followers of Jesus every day, we need to put on things like love, patience, kindness, compassion, forgiveness. And I made you a little card. Does anybody still have their card? Nice. You guys that's pretty good. I'm impressed. So more than half of you have not lost your card yet. Bill? No, I knew he'd lose his for sure. I gave you 2 also. Number 3 thing we looked at is following costs you something. We said that to being a Christian, to be saved so that we go into heaven, that's a free gift. The Bible says Jesus died for you, not because you did good stuff or you're going to do this. The Bible says he died for you because he loves you as a gift. But we learned that when you follow Jesus, it costs you something. Following him, sometimes you have to say no to you. Sometimes when you're following Jesus, he wants to go this way and you want to go this way, and it finally comes to that fork in the road where you're like, if I'm going to follow, I'm going to have to say no to me and yes to him. That was the sermon we did 2 weeks ago. And then last week we said, followers are great leaders. Challenge you, if you're a follower of Christ, to leverage the authority you have for the benefit of those under you. I think as church people, we should be the most loving, the most accepting, the most helping people on the planet. And just imagine what life would be like. What would your city be like? Your family, your neighborhood be like if we really lived that out? If we lived out the fact that we are the most loving, accepting, helping people in our neighborhoods. And in fact, when we play the comparison game, and I called it in the first week the game of because I want to be a little bit smarter and prettier and better and richer than the people around us. We want to play the game. When we play that game for ourselves and our children and our family, there's no win. When you're always pushing your wife to have a little more than other people, or you're pushing yourself, there is just no win in this comparison game. But the truth is, we all look somewhere strengthened from this simple principle that says unexpressed gratitude can be rejection. Unexpressed gratitude, even real stuff we feel, if we don't say it, it can feel like rejection and actually push people's hearts out of the relationship, because we gravitate to acceptance and we're repelled by rejection. And we came for the shepherds, the outsiders. You ever feel like an outsider? Ever feel like I definitely felt like an outsider. And 99% of the time I feel like an outsider with churchy people. Maybe you can agree with me there. You ever feel like an outsider? Shepherds were outsiders, and that was the first person God sent his angel to tell about the birth, because God came for all people.